Dr. Saunders, your 3:30's been waiting.
Thanks. Just give me 2 minutes and it'll be right there.
Thanks for seeing me so quickly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Please.
It's Dr. Saunders. Something's not right. I think there might be some drug abuse.
That's serious. What kinds of things have you observed?
Well, he doesn't seem to remember his cases and his patients the way he used to.
Yeah.
Dr. Saunders, you've got a few people out there.
I'm sorry.
Can I help you with something, or?
No. I'm fine. I'll be right there.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay, well, great.
All right.
And I'm confused about how he's charting his narcotic refills for his patients.
Man, is it a tough week around here or what?
Yeah, it was really busy, right?
I'm so ready to call it a day.
Yeah, me too.
You almost done?
I don't know how Amy responded, but I know what I would have said back then when I was still using. Suddenly blessed with a pocket full of my drug of choice on a Friday evening, I'd have said something like, "Well now, that's why the good Lord gave us the weekend." Hi, I'm Jim and I'm an alcoholic. Thank God it's Friday. I'm sure it was some addict or alcoholic who first came up with that phrase. Because for people like us, people totally obsessed above all else with our drug or drugs of choice, the weekend gives us the space to shove some of our have-tos to the side and just focus on what we truly crave.
Oh, that was a surprisingly good movie. Don't you think?
Yeah.
You coming to bed?
In a minute.
How many of those are you?
Jeff, I've been hearing some pretty disturbing things. I need to know what's
The
going on.
problem is that Monday morning, some morning, sooner or later, there are consequences to be paid for living the life of an addict or alcoholic.
Talking about.
And it's very rarely we ourselves who first see that our lives are becoming unmanageable, that we need help. In fact, we're usually the last ones to see it. Unfortunately, it's the coworkers, the colleagues who rely on us, a supervisor, a spouse or a son or a daughter, a friend, a patient, who's going to see it first.
I want you to take a look at this. Take your time. You may find some similarities between this and your life. Okay?
Okay.
Take this seriously.
And when we do agree to get help, it's usually with some serious consequences hanging over our heads. Even then, we don't usually go without some considerable fearfulness and resistance.
Hello. My name is Dr. Jeffrey Saunders, and my state physician's health program has asked me to make this call. I'm sorry, what? Michigan. Yes, state of Michigan.
Besides all the denial that most of us have to learn to fight,
I'm an orthopedic
there's the
surgeon.
natural fear of the unknown, of course, and then there's the fear of having to turn ourselves over to others for help. That's a tough one for us doctors. We're used to giving the orders. We're people used to being held to very high standards, and we hold them for ourselves, too. So once our addiction's no longer a secret, the shame and guilt can be hard to face. We're worried about how our addiction will affect the way people look at us, the way we'll look at ourselves. Years of denial can make taking that first step towards getting the help we need really hard. But without that crucial first step, we can't begin the journey towards rebuilding our lives and careers.
I don't know what to even say.
However you come to make that first call for help, if you're a healthcare professional like me, the counselor on the other end of that call is likely to refer you to Hazelden Springbrook, the one place that understands our unique issues and has the expertise to work with us in the healthcare professions more effectively than any other program anywhere. That's because Hazelden's Healthcare Professionals program isn't just a track tacked onto an existing treatment model. It's a complete program created especially for us from the ground up, aided by consultation from physicians and other health professionals.
Very glad you're here. Welcome.
They understand that we come to treatment with a unique set of issues which impact our experience of addiction. Realities like our ready access to drugs and our extensive knowledge of them.
That you have the opportunity to successfully complete treatment here and actually retain your license.
The extraordinarily high burden of shame and guilt we often carry due to our knowledge that our behavior has put patients who trust and rely on us at risk. It's great to have the confidence that comes from knowing that the clinical staff at Hazelden understand very well our needs as a group. But it's equally important to know how well prepared they are to deal with each of us individually before we even arrive.
So this tells me that she is very willing. I think she's extremely ready for treatment.
One evidence of this is the way the people who refer us here are treated as partners and kept in the loop about our progress every step of the way, monitoring not only our progress in treatment, but every step of what for many of us may be a long pathway back to reclaiming our lives and careers.
Well, we've just referred Dr. Saunders for a comprehensive evaluation, but based on our preliminary findings, we suspect it is addiction. Once you've evaluated him, we look forward to a discussion and collaborating on a plan for him. Sure, a regular chat once a week would be great. Okay, I look forward to that.
But the most impressive thing for me as a new patient was the realization of the size, the quality, and the incredible depth of the team that guides and manages each treatment plan.
This is Jeffrey S. He's an orthopedic surgeon with an established practice. He's married, 2 grown children, and he's been in for an evaluation. So let's review this patient's case.
My treatment plan wasn't the result of a counselor or two putting their heads together in a room and then getting a couple of supervisors down the hall to sign off on it. It was the result of therapists and clinicians sitting shoulder to shoulder planning together. My treatment plan was collaborated on by the addictionologist, the staff psychiatrist, staff psychologist, and my counselor, in addition to an impressive array of senior clinical professionals from nursing, family services, spiritual services, and more, all working together to get on the same page and create a powerful synergy that would carry me forward and support my recovery every step of the way.
One interesting piece here is that he's got depression that's never been treated. That's something we'll be addressing right away.
I was impressed with the competence and compassion with which every member of the clinical team plays his or her role.
That's the priority for me.
It's extremely important.
But the best counselors and staff in the world can't do the work of recovery for you. You're the one who has to learn to do the heavy lifting, one day at a time. You've got to learn to be your own best friend. Not an easy thing for a guy like me who spent years learning how to be his own worst enemy. We go through that first 28 days of primary treatment separated into men's and women's units. But there are groups just for us in the health professions that are mixed. There are lots of issues in recovery unique to us, and it helps to discuss them with people who really understand. I'll admit the whole idea took a little while to get used to, though. 18 men and women in a room, and all of us health professionals. But what a powerful experience that turned out to be. Those groups turned into a cornerstone of my recovery.
Well, one big thing I learned about myself in the last week was just how completely identified I am with my career as a physician. I mean, you take that away from me, and who am I? What am I?
Hi, I'm Jim, and I'm an alcoholic. I'm an internist, and this is my 42nd day.
Hi, Jim.
Hi. I can really relate to what you're saying, Jeff. My drinking had gotten to a point where I lost my wife. My wonderful wife. That was maybe the one thing I could see with some clarity back then, was that I was in imminent danger of losing her unless I did something. But you know what? Even though I had burned bridges with just about everyone else in my life that mattered, even though I had become at least somewhat aware of the serious toll my using had begun to take on my health, none of that was enough to make me stop. You know what finally did get to me? Was my fear of losing my license. I just couldn't conceive of a life without being a doctor anymore. But these last few weeks here at Hazelden, it's almost as if I have been reconstructing the person that I was before my addiction. Missing pieces are starting to come back. My love of music. My love of the great outdoors. It's been great.
They run a very structured, intensive program here, but not every second of the day is spent in group. The campus is a beautiful place, and there's time for reflection. Time to connect with and process what you're learning with your fellow patients, and time to process on your own as part of your recovery program. Spending most of our time during primary treatment within our separate men's and women's units makes real sense. It makes dealing with gender-specific aspects of our recovery easier and more comfortable to talk about.
Well, for me, in all honesty, when I was told I had to come here, it was a huge relief. I mean, I had already pretty much made up my mind that I had a problem and I needed help. But for me, the hardest thing to swallow was coming to grips with the amount of time that my treatment plan required. I mean, I took it really hard when they told me that it wasn't going to be a quick fix.
Before that core program is done, you'll find you've come a long way. You will have accomplished much, but primary treatment is just the first step. For many, there may still be a lot of work to be done.
Success. So, if he goes to extended care, do I understand correctly that he'll get to request a pass to come home for a few days?
That's right. Near the end of the extended care treatment, he can apply for a pass. The point is to let him ease into the water gradually, as it were. Get used to what sober life entails. He'll see much more clearly what challenges exist for him at home, what kinds of things may be triggers, because those are the issues which we'll have to come up with a plan for before he comes home for good. Research shows us that the longer a patient is in treatment, the greater the likelihood of long-term success. And the measure of success is lifelong recovery.
Yes, Dr. Saunders has a strong system in place, and both at home and at his practice. Well, sounds like we agree on what needs to happen before he can return to work. Yes, I'm glad you think so too. Oh, great discharge summary, by the way. And
After that initial 28 days, many of us spend an additional 30 to 60 days in extended care, working on all the things that are part of getting ready to return to our homes, our practices, our communities. That can seem like a daunting period of time. It can be hard for us and our families to swallow. It's natural that financial worries about the impact on our practices and so forth are going to go through our heads. But addiction is complicated. If spending the extra time gives us a better shot at establishing quality, lifelong recovery, at getting our lives and careers back, how can we give the effort anything but our best?
I can't remember the last time in 3 weeks that I haven't drank. You know.
So Jeff, how do you feel about the last time you saw her?
Boy, it's hard not to get emotional. It's kind of feel like when I met her in college. That first time in class, you know.
Wow, that's nice.
Didn't you want to go out?
Yeah.
I remember a moment during extended care that really stands out as a special moment for me. I was listening to a fellow patient talk and taking in the responses from the group, and it really struck me how even as I neared the end of my time in extended care, I was still learning and growing in my recovery on a daily basis. And with that revelation came an overwhelming sense of gratitude. A gratitude which came from the realization of two important things: how much I owe my recovery not only to the quality and hard work of my counselors, the rest of the clinical staff, and my treatment program, but also to the dedication and hard work of my fellow patients. The education and therapy we receive gives us a firm foundation for our recovery. But the circle of recovery isn't complete without that fellowship. It's an essential part of healing, and recovery wouldn't be complete without it. It's this principle of fellowship that makes us all integral players in the circle of recovery. We find we begin to come into our own again as healers ourselves. That circle of recovery, committed to treating every one of us with the utmost dignity and respect, that's the Hazelden way.